All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Middle 1%.
Yep. We're just going to keep doing it, see where it goes.
A little ghetto setup right now, but, we'll fix it next time. We're going to try to do every other week or so, maybe once a month, more likely, because we're pretty busy guys.
With a lot of stuff going on, it's I think everybody's in this phase where they're just grinding. At least most people I know. And if they're not grinding, then they're taking every single minute to try and take advantage of downtime. Like both are happening at the exact same time.
Funny time we're in. So that's a pretty good segue to our next topic today for episode 2, where we're talking about AI and its effects on everybody in the current world.
I want to start with this, okay? I think AI is something that's very misunderstood. Like, you hear it a lot, right? You hear like everyone talking about, okay, I have this technology that's AI, or this thing's AI. You know what? Like, I think Microsoft on like Word, PowerPoint, it has like the Copilot thing, that's AI. So everyone, like, ChatGPT is what kind of like, I think most people have like that's what they had their...
That's the first initial breakout for AI, but AI has been around for a long time. People just don't understand what AI really means.
Yeah, I mean, and there's different types of AIs too. Like there's a lot of people, like there's machine learning, right? There's AI, there's reinforced learning. All of these things are actually different, right? And I don't know how much of the engineering you want me to get into, but like...
Get into it, man. The first AI I heard of, like going to school, was actually Netflix's AI, where it actually did the machine learning that you're talking about, where it learned the person's choices and then gave them more choices based on that. So the preferences is the first AI I learned about.
Yeah, so the thing is, it depends on the type of model you have, right? If you're Netflix, what you're trying to do is you have a bunch of data. You have all your viewers watching, and there's cycles of what kind of shows they like, what kind of shows they don't like, and you have to make a predictive model. Okay, the whole point of AI is prediction, okay? It doesn't matter what type of scenario you're in, you're trying to predict what someone is saying. Now, that's, or at least for the Netflix one. But then so what happens is you have all this data. Let's say 5 different people, they watched 4 of the shows that you watched, and 3 out of 4 of those people watched this other show. They're going to think that because you fall under this data set, you should be now watching that. We're going to recommend this show to you. So it's very simple in that way, right? Then there's other types of AI, or people call it AI, where it's very like nuanced, where it's, in engineering terms, we call it like control theory or controllers. So how controllers work, like a really good example of this is like, let's say you have a coffee machine, right? And it knows to boil water to 90 degrees Celsius, right? And it seems easy enough. Okay, you have some sort of code, some software and there's a temperature transducer, and it goes, okay, yeah. When it hits 90, boom, I turn it off, everything's good. But depending on your type of controller, what kind of equations you're using, right? You might overshoot that 90. By the time your system realizes, it's under damped. So it goes to like 93, and then it tries to overcorrect, and then maybe it goes to 88, and then, so it's not smooth, right? Or it might be over damped, where the system, it starts to cut down on the heating before you get to 90, so it's never even hitting 90. It's always like kind of like asymptoting at 89, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like direct control, right? But in machine learning, what you can do is you can have these, you can almost have like a set point where the algorithm learns, okay, my original strategy gets me to 88 degrees Celsius. That's not that good. I have too much of an error, right? So now what I want to do is I want to maybe like loosen the damping on this. And so with new data that happens. So now maybe I'm overshooting, but now I got more data. Now I know where I overshoot. I know you're almost like self-tuning the algorithm. So that's another like type of situation. So the first one is Netflix, where they're using data. The second one's like a controller type system, right? Adaptive, even stuff like adaptive springs, like just different things like, and then the last thing you have is ChatGPT, where it's like a LLM, or like a large language model, where someone is asking a question, you look at the context of that question, you look at all of this data of different words and patterns that kind of address that question, and you're trying to link all of that together. So that's like, I would say I have the least experience in LLMs, but all of these are a little bit different, right? Between the machine learning, between the AI, even, you know what, Boston Dynamics, you see their little robot, that's different too. You're taking LiDAR data, and then you're saying like, okay, I know there's some sort of obstacle in front of me. Based on this data, I know what to do. If obstacles are here, I move this way. But a lot of the times, if the obstacle looks like this and I move this way, I hit a different obstacle. So now I know. You start to make a terrain map of like what's going on. I don't know if that was like a...
No, it makes sense. But then this is the conspiracy aspect of it.
Yeah.
When you're really looking into like the Netflix specifically.
Yeah.
Which is what I learned. Again, I don't know much about the newest model, like ChatGPT, though there are a lot of conspiracies about that as well. For Netflix, since it already knows your preferences, it can also suggest things and make you think that you like other preferences as well. Because if other people are also like, if it works on other people, like suggest certain things based on other things they've liked in the past, they can kind of direct somebody to like a specific topic or niche or show.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So here's the thing. It can go both ways, right? You're already predisposed to a certain genre, right? We know this because you've already watched those 4 first shows. So that 5th show that if you weren't shown that, you may not have watched it. But now you've been shown it, so now you watch this. And the conspiracy is, oh yeah, Netflix is feeding me this 5th show. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you watch the whole thing. The completion rate can talk for itself. How many times when you watch that 5th show do you cut it in the first 5 seconds? If you're watching, if every time Netflix recommends something, you're watching the whole thing, then yeah, there's an element to, oh, you're being fed something, but you clearly like what you're eating. You know what I mean? So
that's a great point. Then that means that you wanted to watch in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the algorithm actually works.
What's the metric between, oh, I was fed something that I never wanted to see versus I was fed something that actually fits exactly what I want to see? How do you differentiate between these two? The only way is completion. I mean, there's more to it. I'm sure there's so many different metrics they use more than just completion, or like, I don't even know if they're doing stuff like on the window screen alone, how long you're even hovering over something and like clicking on it. Like, does that count towards something, right? Like, do you like look at the recommended, go all the way down, look at other stuff for a bit, but then go back and look at it?
There are ways that, I don't know the specifics of it, but they can actually track how long you're looking at something.
Can they?
It's a real way, yeah. If you're hovering on something, they kind of know exactly where your eyes are looking, depending on where you click and what you tap on. I mean, especially on a phone, because your phone has a camera.
Yeah, but are they using your camera? Your camera, so when your phone is using your camera, you should know that, right? I guess, okay, no, for your laptop, okay, for your laptop and stuff, whenever, unless, I don't know if it's a settings thing, but for me, like, it'll always say, hey, your microphone's about to be used.
Yeah, but for phones, it's not like that. It's kind of like you already agreed to it by downloading the app, because they have these conditions when you're agreeing to download the app. They're like, hey, well, you're gonna use the data, like Facebook. They use all this data.
How many people are actually going through the privacy rules that the app has?
Not many, but the ones
there's a TOC every time you And how many people are actually, and how I don't know.
But there are other ways, even if they're not looking at your cameras or your eyes specifically, like they're actually looking at you.
Yeah.
There are other ways for them to tell what you're looking at by what you're scrolling on and what you click on as well. What area on your phone do you click on when you're scrolling on something? That's how they know what you're looking at as well, right? If it's in the middle of the screen, right, they're assuming that you're looking at that object in the middle of the screen, not in the corner. So they can kind of tell where you're looking at as well. This is where that gets kind of complicated, where they can kind of use that data as well.
Okay, there's 2 different things, all right? There's the algorithm side of, we have this data. What can we do with this data to try and give you the best experience or push a political agenda? Whatever their reason is, they have the data to do it. That's one thing. That part is like, oh, the AI, or is it ML, or whatever you want to use, right? Then there's the other part of just acquiring the data, right? This is a separate thing. Like you can.
Do you think they should be allowed to get this much amount of data about you?
So let's focus on it. Let's talk about like the data acquisition. Okay, do they have the right to take your data for advertising purposes? For let's not even go into third-party advertising. We'll talk about
advertising on the app.
Yeah, let's not even advertise. Let's say all the data they're taking is specifically within the app itself. Let's say YouTube is not selling your data to anyone. It is only being reshuffled for YouTube algorithms. Okay, let's just assume that for a second. In that context, what do you think? Should YouTube be allowed to, or Netflix, as long as they're keeping it in their own platform, should they be able to use your data to do whatever they want with it?
I think well, I think it's unavoidable now in this society that like what we use our phones for. Like it's inevitable for us to get tracked and our data taken. But should they be allowed to use it for other apps and services? I don't think that's, morally right for them to be selling your data without your permission to other companies. For them to use it for their own app, I mean, I guess if you are using their application, then you should have the right to decide that too.
Okay, so...
But the problem is there's not enough education on the topic itself. Like, no one really knows what they're actually doing with their data. Are they actually using it for their own website? Or they don't even care about it and they're just selling it to other companies?
Okay, so you're saying that as long as they don't sell it to anybody else, whatever they do with their data, as long as it's for their own app internally, you're fine with it.
But that's my own opinion. But I don't know how other people feel about that. Some people don't care. People, they live in, we come to live in an age where, they have so much data on me anyways. I don't care if they get more data on me. But other people are more like, damn, when they're finding out about it, like, damn, they're really taking that much information about me. I don't feel comfortable with them taking that much information about me. How do you feel about them taking that much information?
Okay. When it comes to them using it internally, I think the way these software companies run their model, the subscription model, they have no choice. Because think about it. Imagine you're paying Netflix for shows, right? And everyone's gotten a lot lazier, okay? Let's just be real about this. How many people, unless you're already in a show, how many people know? Yeah. How many people are doing research about what show they want to watch before they go on Netflix? Not that much. You just open it up and you start scrolling through, let me see what I can see, right? So if that search function does a terrible job,
app is useless, yeah.
Yeah, maybe some people will be like, I'm not paying $8 a month for this. It's so hard.
It's way more than that now, by the way.
I don't know, what is it, 15?
Yeah, it's only for one house too, by the way. They don't let you
with ads.
Yeah, no, they're adding ads.
Yeah, they're adding ads and stuff
like Prime does.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is if the search feature is bad, less people are going to want to pay for it. It's like with Amazon. If you never see stuff you want and you're always having to go based on your own search, it's going to feel kind of like, oh wow, people aren't going to like it. It's like a weird thing. No, a lot of people say, do not use my data, but make sure you get good advertising on me, inevitably.
But that's the thing though. Do you want your Netflix data, you're watching shows on, to be on Amazon as well? Or do you want Amazon to determine that themselves?
You mean cross-platform?
Yeah. Do you want them to data share?
Data sharing, I think, is definitely a gray area. For me, the fact that Netflix can sell my data to somebody else and say, okay, we've done our own internal stuff with it. Here, take the data and do whatever you want with it to get more stuff out of it. I think this can be problematic. This is and unfortunately, we all consent to it. I think when
you start using it, you have the consensus. But how many people actually read it and understand it? Because I think it's such a new thing that no one really knew when Facebook was doing it.
So you know what? This might be a little bit of a tangent, and I love these tangents. Okay, but I'm gonna say this. So I was recently talking to a friend, right? And he was telling me, and he did a lot of his years in business law major, and he said that the law, in general, is created for in layman terms. It should be, because what is the point of the law? Should you need a JD degree to understand the law? And the answer is no. It's made for common people. Constitutionally, the law is made for common people to represent themselves and to understand all the rules that are going on. That's the point of the law. It's actually made for all
the average person.
For the average person.
But do you think it's that now?
No, but now the problem is, what if you want to defend yourself from something? What are some things you need? You need to know what kind of precedent is out there. You need to know different interpretations of the law, different jurisdictions, what changes. You need to know so much about the law that it is no longer something an average person can do, and you're just going to hide. I think lawyers make so much money for this reason. Nobody's if I were to tell me some bylaws, even municipally, that
yeah, I wouldn't know. I'd have to Google it or search it up myself.
Exactly.
And there's also multiple different methods in how they
right. So in the same way, right, that the law, but now here's the thing. Even though you may not know all the laws, are you expected to follow all the laws?
Yeah.
Can you say, oh, I didn't know that, I don't know, like I couldn't, build something in this one plot of land in the middle of nowhere. I needed a permit for it. And now you're getting fined because it's like, hey, you can't have this.
Yeah, but then that's the point of the fine. You get fined, but you don't go to jail for it.
Sure.
I think the more obvious laws, you can go to jail for or face time for, but the ones that people don't really know about, you can't argue in court.
Yeah, but it's the same thing though, right? You're saying it's a civil fine-based thing. Well, again, now let's come to the terms and conditions. There's no jail here. It's just about, oh, you didn't understand the terms and conditions, and now someone's using your data where you don't actually want them to use their data that way, right? And this is what I'm saying. Like, it's the same with these like civil types of laws, traffic laws. Yeah, we learn about all the different traffic laws. You know what? I guarantee you, some people don't remember every single traffic law that's out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And so you come to this.
You see it on the Gardener.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of that is like they know and they're not following it, and some of them they actually don't know, right? But like, if I were to ask you right now, is changing a lane without indication a traffic violation?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but is it like, oh, you should do it versus you have to do it? What's the actual thing? How long? Like, yeah, I think there was like, oh, you have to wait 2 seconds. There has to be some like mandate or whatever, right? But like, but the thing is like, when it comes to these terms and conditions, we come to this issue of, first of all, should they be allowed to do something or not, right? That's one thing. But do you even understand what you're doing, and how do you bridge that gap? Because we already have this problem in the
Even
law.
if you did read it, would you understand what they're doing, what they're using your data with, like what they're using it for? If you read the terms and conditions, would you understand what it means?
Well, let me give you an example. Let's say you're about to buy a house, and someone gives you a long list of terms and conditions about that house. What would be the first thing you would do?
Ask somebody to...
Not just somebody, you take it to your lawyer.
To the lawyer, yeah.
Yeah, you take it to your lawyer, right? In the same way, every time you sign a long terms and conditions that actually matters in your life, most people take that to their attorney and they go, can you read through this? Like, what is this? Is this good for me? And they'll be like, listen, basically this says this, and these are the things you're gonna risks or whatever. And you're like, okay, cool. How many people are taking, okay, before I jump onto like TikTok, let me just print out this terms and conditions. Let me take it to my attorney and tell me exactly what I'm signing in for. What can they do with my data? Who's doing this?
No one's doing it.
But they
so
can.
accessible. They can. Yeah, that's true.
And that's what the companies are going to tell you. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, but then what should the company do instead? Why should the company reduce the complexity of the terms of conditions when every single other industry is doing it? Buying your house, even sometimes buying a car on a lease. There's just this long...
Yeah, it's true.
I'll tell you, here, get this. Opening a savings account or a credit card, you get this giant, like 40-page thing that you sign, and even in the audio thing, I don't know if anyone's talked to like TD or BMO, they'll be like, sorry, but we have to play this video, or I have to talk about all of these things for 5 minutes. You're just gonna have to like say yes to it at the end. They run through this, like, how many people are understanding every single point of like?
No, they're not.
So why is it fair that people expect the social media company?
I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Because you are still protected when you're doing it for a house or for opening a credit card. There are laws and practices in place already to protect the consumer for those instances. However, since social media is so new, they really don't know how to protect you. Like, if you look at America, when they're trying to fight Facebook, they had these old senile people fighting Facebook. Like,
oh, you're talking about Cambridge?
Do you use internet? And they're like, yeah.
What was it again? The one guy was like, can Google tell me when I walk across the room? Does Google know I'm going over there? And it's like this kind of stuff,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. No, they don't understand the complexities of the app, or like how they can use it to their benefit and how it can harm the average consumer.
No, but I'll push back on that a little bit, okay? You said the other stuff, people are protected, right? Let's actually jump in. Let me use my credit card example again. You go through this long thing, hey, you know what, this is the interest, blah, blah, blah. You can't do a cash advance. Now you get your credit card. You go buy like a 2K like TV. $2,000 is on your credit card. You don't pay your minimum payment. This giant interest bill comes after like 3 months. And they're like, yeah, you better pay this. Can you say, hey,
I didn't know. Yeah.
I didn't know. Where's the protection for you?
You know why? Because they made you watch that video in the first place. They didn't just give you a list like, yeah, here, sign this. And
I don't think it's about the video though. I think even if they gave you that terms of conditions and you signed it, There's no, like, you cannot be protected if you're an adult and you legally sign on to something and it's a fair document that they didn't break any laws, and then you can't come afterwards and be like, I didn't understand this document, unless there was some sort of, like there was some sort of pressure, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Where, like, yes, it is on the consumer at the end of the day. I agree. However, I think that because banks are so much older, houses are like more, what's the word? There's more oversight on those different industries that they've already made enough protection laws for the consumer. However, again, social media is way too new for them to even understand what it actually does and how it could be harmful to people. And
I think
the data thing is actually a really important point. I think that people don't really understand how much data they're actually taking and selling, which is actually is against the law.
So here's the thing. I actually think they're one and the same problem. I actually think the age of the industry has nothing to do with it. I'll tell you why. In the bank example, right? A lot of people in North America have a lot of credit card debt, and it's because they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. It's not like they always knew what was going on. And I'm not saying like it's not their fault. Like if you're racking up 40K of credit card debt, like you're clearly...
Yeah, a guy has a whole show about it. He literally brings people on with their debt and tries to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, what does 6% compounding semi-annually mean? Like, okay, wait. Suddenly, like, I'm like double my principal. I never made a payment. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, this happens. But what I'm saying is that that's damaging to people. That's destroying people's lives.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue that damages people's lives more than your data being used for Amazon.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So maybe there's a bigger thing here of
educating people about these things.
Yeah, like people, every aspect you jump into, real estate, banking, social media, data, when you jump in, there's always a terms of conditions attached, and you need to be educated and you need to understand what you're getting yourself into. The problem with social media that I have personally isn't if you're 30 and you sign on to TikTok and unfortunately, like legally, if I'm just being consistent with like the way things are legally and they're doing what they said they want to do with your data and you're like, oh, I didn't know this, that I'm kind of like, well, technically speaking, we should have read it. No, the problem is under 18, minors, because a minor can't go into TD, or like maybe you're 16, 17, you have a job. Like maybe there's some like rules. I don't remember exactly how it works, but like, I don't think a 9-year-old can walk into TD and be like, give me a credit card. And they're like, yeah, sign this TOC. Yeah, okay, here's your credit card. The guy's like, oh, nice. I'm going to go buy like, I'm going to go buy like a PS5. Oh no, now I don't know how to pay it. That doesn't happen. Why? A kid can't just accidentally sign a house and be like, oh, you better be getting your parents to pay this like per year now. You bought it, right? Like that doesn't happen. But is there any difference when a kid is on a social media?
Worse, actually.
And now they have their data. Is there specific, and maybe there is someone, again, like chat, please.
Chat?
Yeah.
Audience, whatever.
Audience, chat, whatever.
Shout out our 60K views.
Oh yeah, shout out to the 60K views. Episode 1 was
really good.
Hit.
Election went crazy, but again, watch our videos on TikTok, YouTube, on Spotify as well, guys.
We're going to talk about actually some of the reception we got on that because it kind of like adds into like just the social media.
Honestly, I love the comments on it because they really did they really did come at us a lot. Sometimes they were valid, sometimes I disagree with some things they said, but again, it was great conversation and it honestly did help me learn a lot as well. Rafat is not like on TikTok like that, so you didn't really see most of the comments, but I did read.
Yeah, you're the guy.
I read in the good ones, so.
No, you know what? Actually,
shout out Troglodytes, by the way.
No, I will say this: anyone that does anything on social media and turns around and goes, "Oh, I'm getting called out," that's the dumbest take ever. I knew that as soon as I walk into this, I'm getting called out. This isn't my PhD defense where, like some guy that, like, let's say I feel like, oh, the questioning is unfair. I really know what I know, and someone from outside of the field is asking me a question that I think is not that fair. That's not happening here. There's a lot of people out there,
that know more than us about certain topics.
You'll ask me a question.
I know less as well. And I see you guys too.
You'll ask me a question. I have 2 seconds to answer that question. Whatever comes to my mind, rapid fire. Someone is dissecting the video, watching it 26 times and going, I would have said something better. So, but I mean, they're entitled to do that because you put that out there, right?
Yeah, we made a split decision thing, but all right, it's a good point you brought up. Minors and using social media as well. Like, how do you how do you stop that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the enforcement is for laws when it comes to minors. Like, if they are signing something, like how legally binding is that, right?
Yeah, and how dangerous is that too for a minor as well to be on a social media app? Like, I don't know. I saw TikTok actually is just 16 now. I'm pretty sure it's not even 18 anymore. Before it used to be 18
For what?
on Facebook and like Instagram and stuff. And if
Like-
they caught you, you'd be banned.
No, like you had to be 18 to be on TikTok?
I don't know about TikTok, but before when I was younger, it would be like you had to be 18 for Instagram, Facebook.
Not at Facebook.
They didn't care.
No, wait, hold on. Is that actually true?
I'm pretty sure
Because
it's
I
true.
had my birthday as like December 1st, 1994.
When did you make it?
What?
When did you make it? How old were you?
I don't know. I was like 2007 or something. What do you mean?
Like 13?
Yeah, 13. Yeah. Well, like I remember, right? I mean, I remember being on like random like forums, not even like Reddit, but like, you know, those like just like pure like weird forums type stuff, like messaging people back and forth, like,
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
and one guy talking about like, yeah, you know, I'm like really feeling like the '08 crash, and me being like, oh, really? Like, you know, and him being like, oh, where do you live? You know, like, is your neighborhood affected? And me idiotically being like, oh yeah, Cooksville. You know what I mean? And I think back and I'm like, wow, like, can you imagine that today? I mean, I'm sure it happened, but like,
Sure, it still happens for sure.
no, but it was just different times, man. Like,
Yeah. It's more dangerous for sure back then because there wasn't as much talk about. Like now you know, right? There's talk about it in every school assembly. You know, even in mine, I was in middle school. People used to be like, "Yo, be careful who you're talking to online," because
there
I
was
don't know if you ever heard of a Metatod and stuff like that.
who?
That was the first thing that everyone was like, "Yo, this is crazy."
What do you
A
mean?
Metatod. She essentially like, maybe I'll blur out her name because I don't want people to know, like go back to that. But there's this girl who was like 16 or something like that, and she was like doing like cam shows and shit, and like she got leaked to her school, and then she just committed suicide.
But I feel like this is yeah, okay.
So like that's the danger of like, not even just social media, then the internet in general. Maybe social media leads to these.
No, look, okay, think about this. You have a platform, whatever platform, everyone is dumping their data into it, their pictures, you know, what they think, their political views, what don't they know about us,
Yeah.
right? And you have this melting pot of stuff. We're talking about the data of what the companies use them for, but everyone can see what you're doing. Go back to like 2009. I'm sure I made some idiotic posts on Facebook, you know what I mean, about something, like, and you'll be like, hey, you said this, I don't remember,
Yeah.
right? But
And a lot of people get canceled for that too. Like people say
girl,
it's crazy shit, but like,
cancel culture. Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah, like this
but
whole-
that is pretty dangerous though. Like if you even look at it now, how people are weaponizing it, like the states, like their immigration right now, where like they're weaponizing the data they have on you.
Okay, but here's the thing. It feels weird to me when people say, oh, you know, this new thing, social media, signal. It's been 20 years.
Yeah, it's 20 years.
15 years. Like, okay, I was in high school, 2010, 2011, 2012, these years, right? There was social media. I'm pretty sure Snapchat was a thing even back then. I'm pretty sure when I was in grade 12, people were like, oh, you know, I'm trying to get the Snapchat score or whatever. I don't even know if people use Snapchat anymore. Is it dead?
It's still alive, but like not that much.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, it's not like it's a long time ago. Like we're talking like 12, 13 years ago. And like, I don't even think there's been that many big social media. In fact, okay, what's the newest social media? TikTok, which came out around COVID time, or maybe
2019, 2018.
2019, 2018. What was before that?
Snapchat?
2011, 2010?
No, that's more than that. 13, 12, 13.
12, 13, okay.
Yeah. Before that was Instagram. And then before
Twitter.
that was Facebook.
Twitter.
I was never on Twitter so much.
2010, I think. 2009. Somebody, again, I might be wrong about these.
And we're talking about the ones that actually survived the test of time. Not
Yeah.
like the other random ones. Like
Yeah, because there was like Tumblr and stuff, right? Like, for some
No,
reason,
it's like Kick. Remember Kick?
Kick is still a thing, isn't it?
No, Kick's different now. That's a different.
Oh, that's a different Kick. Okay, I didn't even know about the old Kick. No, because you know what? Okay, about Tumblr. Interesting fact. Like, or not even a fact. I don't know what I'm saying.
Oh, you're exposing your Tumblr account?
No. Well, yeah, like I actually did have a Tumblr account. No, but
Yo, find his account, man.
no, I think it's gone. Like I don't even think it exists anymore.
Oh yeah,
does
did
it?
you delete it? I don't know. I think
don't
they
know.
made a comeback or something.
No way they made a comeback.
I think-
But
I think
all
they
I
did.
remember is the CEO or co-founder of Tumblr talking to Obama, Do you remember this?
Oh, I know.
This was like I have to be able to find this on. It's like 2015, 14.
No way.
2014, 15. Yeah, he was like in the White House with like a bunch of other guys, and then Obama being like, you know, the power of social media with you know, like Tumblr, and like, you know, the guy being like, yeah, you know, like we're really trying to like.
He bombed it the next year.
No, I think he was done. Like,
The site was
yeah,
done
like,
next year,
but like, I'm serious, man. This happened. This was a thing. Like,
Bringing it back to.
so what I'm trying to say about
Yeah, yeah.
about the timing and the social media is that, like, okay, look, there hasn't been that many that 2015
Survived. That survived. Actually made that blew up.
Instagram is old.
But you know what? I'll mention though. Back then, when we were kids, like it has been there for 20 years, yes. But how many people were on it for 20, like for the full 20 years?
Instagram, honestly, I was very late in Instagram. Like, I think, no joke, I actually started using Instagram 2021.
Oh my god!
Like
That's
20
past TikTok, bro.
Huh? Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It was already dead at that point. Actually, it made a comeback with the reels.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
it was when the reels were making a comeback.
Yeah, yeah.
I was on Threads, by the way. Are you on that?
Nah, I still didn't download it. I still see the
Blue Sky.
advertisement.
Blue
I'm on
Sky.
that, but it's really like it's the same post recycled over and over and over.
No, isn't it like the Twitter for leftists or whatever?
Basically, yeah.
So I mean, you know, you're
Whoa, man! We don't have any political views.
no,
here,
I'm just
man.
saying, like, you're not gonna, yeah, okay, but yeah, so yeah, like, these are all old. This is my point. Like, Instagram, Facebook, I think, has changed a lot. Like, I don't know about you, the only thing I ever
Meta, you mean?
Meta,
You
but
know what the best thing going for Facebook is though, by the way? Is
Marketplace?
Marketplace, and it's still like so shit. Like it lags when I use it. I
no,
have
but it's actually
a
good
beast computer and it lags. It's amazing. I love it, but it's like so shit. You know what I
because in Canada, nobody actually uses Craigslist. For a lot of, if we have American viewers, we don't actually, Craigslist is not a big thing here. Like, nobody uses it.
mean? Marketplace and Kijiji. I think Kijiji's like dying. so.
No, listen. Here's the thing about Kijiji. Kijiji is like some back alley deal. Some guy called like Deal Maker 101.
Yeah, but it's sick. It's sick.
Meet me in.
My dad found the best deals on it. By the way, if you want a free game, by the way, I don't even know if I should tell you this because I don't tell anybody my secrets, but the best deals is on Kijiji because these old people still think people use it, and they'll put like a nice Civic, like 100K for like 10K.
Nah, man.
Yes, bro.
Nah, man.
Yo,
No,
the
listen.
Corolla I have, 110K. You know how much you got it for?
How much?
6K.
That's like pre-COVID pricing.
Exactly, and he got it recently, like last year.
Oh yeah, I know.
My dad could easily flip that for more, but again, it's a nice car.
No, but here's the thing too. There's
Old guy didn't know
Kijiji Autos.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's actually, here's the funny thing. So I go on.
Again, it's dead though.
No. Not only is it dead, but like Kijiji Autos, I recently went on it because sometimes I'm just like scrolling through. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me look at the price of like old E46 M3s or something, or like S2000s. And I get this little thing. It's like Kijiji Autos is closing down soon.
No way.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, but feel free to use Kijiji. And it's like,
What's the difference? Because there's no cost to run it. Like,
no,
you just keep it
I
up.
think there are. Maybe there's like a different Kijiji Autos. No, because
You know what though? What? How do they make their money besides ads? They don't make any money off the transaction.
yeah, they do because. in
Oh, you
Kijiji,
pay for ads.
You pay for ads. Like,
Yeah.
or no, you pay for exposure. You're like, I want to be on page one. Like, let's say
It
I
doesn't make a difference though, honestly. Because there's such minimal ads now that like even post one, like it'll come up.
I recently bought rims and tires off Kijiji.
That's what I'm saying. But was it a good price?
Yeah, it was a good price. Yeah.
Because the
No,
old
but
people use it.
No,
man,
but here's the
I'm
thing.
telling
No,
you.
no,
They don't
no.
know about this COVID.
No, I
like,
don't agree with
TikTok
that.
pricing.
The guy that bought it, that I bought it from, he knew exactly what tires he was selling me, and he knew exactly what the price was. He was like, "Listen, I sold the car. I have these tires left over. I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to wait that long into the season
They're
selling
like
something."
Tino tires or something.
Sure.
Chinese
Oh yeah,
tires,
TV.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, these are real, but like I sold my car.
hey man, they're Pirellis.
What if they're like fake tires?
They're
You
not
know?
fake Pirellis,
Did
bro.
you check?
Yeah, I checked, man. Come on. They're not fake.
You never know. Maybe they have like a fake
What,
tire
like
market,
Torelli
too.
or something?
Yeah.
Like, no, man.
You
Like,
see those videos of them like remaking tires from old tires?
yeah,
Like,
like
making the grip and shit on it?
no, but
it's
yeah,
crazy.
like no, but the thing is, it's odd to me because I just feel like social media has been around for a while.
Yeah, it has been a
And-
while, yeah.
And now,
But that's because it's our entire life. But for majority of people and middle young adults, it hasn't been around forever.
they haven't been around forever. This is like a moot point. It's like
Yeah.
I'm 15 and things haven't been around a long time because because you're not been alive.
But everyone after us only knew social media.
Didn't we?
It was kind of getting there. I'll mention this as well. Social media, not just social media, but also gaming. Like RuneScape, you can meet people on there and be like, yeah.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft. Now it's League of Legends too. You know what I mean? Like really big industries, like where you meet people.
StarCraft.
It's not just.
Bro, CS 1.6. You know how many people were playing that?
Yeah.
But I guess CS 1.6 was different because there was.
Was there an age restriction on those apps? There wasn't.
Yeah,
Did they really?
No. Okay,
Did they really stop me from playing the game?
CS
or like RuneScape? I was playing it. I was freaking 5. Remember, I was grinding out your 99 range. By the way, shout out RuneScape. I did that shit for him.
Yo, listen.
I PK you today. That was me.
Oh yeah, that was you. Yeah, because I never did anything. I was botting the whole time.
The crabs.
Yeah, I didn't care. No, but
and people would check me if I'm a bot. By the way, I'll be like watching.
Yeah, so I used you as like my. I was like, these hours are when people get banned, so I need to use you as like a.
Good point to bring up, by the way, when we're talking about AI again. AI has actually gotten to a point where they can make bots that are like real. Like they can pretend to be real now, and you don't know the difference.
No, but that's the
especially when it comes to like RuneScape.
Look.
Games like RuneScape.
You know, I know AI has the technology has really gotten. It's really gotten like better over the last couple of years, but the LLMs have gotten much better. Like what I mean by this is, try and do something sophisticated with just like with a data model. What I mean by this is, for example, when do you think autopilots for planes?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And autopilots like from like early 2000s have been good. Like I know there's fog, there's other issues with autopilot. There can be issues with it. And they've obviously also gotten a lot better.
That's based on data, like the data that's given to them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, you know, I feel like, I mean, everybody, like, I think a lot of people agree with this. AI is overhyped in a lot of ways. And it's like, oh, wow, I can have this conversation with ChatGPT. Like, okay, fine, right? But I've tried this. Like, I was like last year, I was actually teaching I was a TA for like a controls course in U Waterloo, and I was a little bit rusty on some particular control stuff because I hadn't been a TA for the course for a while, and I just to get ahead, I was like, okay, let me just see if I just quickly throw in like this for those engineers watching, let's say like, oh, I need like to make some sort of like transfer function off of like some PID loop. Just throwing it in there, ChatGPT doesn't do that well. When things get complicated, it doesn't do that well because all it's doing is it's going around and
taking
looking
most amount of data.
Yeah,
like the most similar amount of data.
But here's the thing: the state of the art work in any research field. All researchers are going to know this. There's different search engines. One is Google Scholar. You actually have to turn on Google and go into Google Scholar and search up for papers and stuff. Another one is Scopus. There's these like specific search engines that only filter papers and journal entries. Okay. Are these LLM models using those journal entries?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know if they are or not. Are they just using Reddit?
I don't think they're allowed to either, though.
I don't know about that. Like, I mean, the thing is, you could literally go on these search engines and you will be able to see the abstract of any paper you want, maybe sometimes highlights of what figures of that and the conclusion sometimes, but to read the actual
the paper, you had to pay for it.
Yeah, like if you're in grad studies or you're a professor or you're a researcher, you get like free access through your institution, right? So you get these,
but ChatGPT won't have the access, I don't think.
I don't know.
And I think that's the problem with it too, because a lot of people actually who are against ChatGPT or like AI models in general, like LLMs or whatever, they're starting to feed the internet fake images or like fake information, so they're actually less accurate. They cannot take over your jobs. There's another fear when it comes to these specific models, these AI models, that like they're gonna take over some jobs. Like let's say graphic design. So the newest models they have for their art or their image creation, right? It's gotten very complex. So how do you battle that? You actually start posting online a ton of images that don't make any sense. So that actually the model itself gets distorted and it can't make images as accurately as it could have before. So people are actually battling this in a way as well. Like, it actually does use all the information that's given to it online and then kind of regurgitating the most accurate answer or the most regurgitated answer online. So that's why you're saying it's not accurate for some
No, and that's no like
information, right?
well, here's the thing about any data model. The model part or what you do with the data is definitely a critical component, but the data itself, like bad data gives you bad results no matter how good of a model or you're using, right? So I'm going to touch on a few points you mentioned. You talked about people that are worried or they're against the LLM, and then on top of that, people losing their jobs. Okay, I'm going to touch on these 2 points differently. I think it's just it's a bad position to say, oh no, I don't want to be I don't think this is a good idea, because at the end of the day, I'm sure the first guy that was like, hey, we should design autopilot for planes, pilots probably lost it maybe in the 40s and 50s. You're gonna let this plane land itself? I don't care how much like computing power you've gained, like there's no way, right? Or cars now have cruise control. Like every single time we do something, I'm sure regulation.
There's a lot of backlash.
There's a lot of backlash. Like there's no way this is, and I understand it. There's a safety issue. There's a societal harm aspect every time you push technology forward, right? But the thing is, technology is going to be pushed forward. There's nothing we can do about it. Someone is going to build something that's going to have,
no matter what.
There is a use case. That's the thing. There's a use case for it. People want it. And there's no point in being like, oh, I'm against this. Like, no, the only option is you either have to find some sort of regulation, right? Or some sort of, something that like,
limits it?
Yeah, like something that, because the FAA, for example, and I know there's been some Boeing crashes, FAA's been like, there's been some issues there, but the FAA makes sure that every time there's something added to planes or every like the training they do, there's this entire system in place to make sure things like due diligence is happening. There's redundancies to try and improve safety. The claim here is social media might not have that. Do we have that? Is there even a governing body for social media?
For social media and AI, I think that you're trying to get at.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have the FAA. Now, again, everyone might say, oh, the FAA is bad at this, or I'm going to mention the FDA is bad at that. There's the DOE, right? For certain things about energy systems, right? Like, and all these other entities. It's like, well, they don't do a good job or they're being paid off. Yes, it's true. There are issues in all of these entities, but in principle, the point of these entities is to check the societal harm a technology can bring and to try and mitigate that for the public.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have that for AI?
I think, again, it's so new that we don't really have that yet.
Okay. I can understand that for AI. Why don't we have that for social media?
Yeah, we should have had it a long time ago.
Right?
I think they did it on purpose, though. Like, you can get conspiracies or whatever. They purposefully didn't go after these social media platforms because they were benefiting off of it as well. I mean, again, it's the conspiracy aspect of it, but it was the age of information and the terrorist act happened and whatever, 9/11. They did gather a lot of data. They wanted to gather a lot of data about people, and they want to surveil people more. You're talking about Big Brother or whatever, the UK. The same sort of thing happened in America where they wanted this information. So I can see it, if you look at it from that viewpoint, and some people might not believe in that and think you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever, that's fine as well. But if you did believe in that, it makes sense for them to allow it to happen.
Okay, but here, let me push back on that a little bit. Like,
it is more conspiracy theory aspect, I understand, but
let's whenever I hear conspiracy theories, right, rather than fighting against it, I try to make it broader in the sense that if they're going to do this for data, then why be so strict with the FDA? Why be so strict with the FAA? Why, like, if there is going to be this conspiracy of like, oh, there's this technology that we can use to do this, I'm sure there are other technologies we can do the exact same thing. Why only do that? You see my point here? Like, so.
But can those other organizations collect data the same way that social media does?
That's a really good question.
I don't think they can.
The FDA doesn't deal with the public one-on-one. They deal with clinical.
That's answering your question then, isn't it? Like, why don't they restrict those organizations as well? Because they're not doing the same job that social media is.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. And it comes down, unfortunately, always comes back to politics, actually, where, I mean, okay, look, there's politics on, but this is a very like, it's actually hard to differentiate this, but let me give you an example. Boeing pays a lot of taxes. If you put a lot of regulations on Boeing and you hurt their bottom end and their profitability, the government makes less money, and some other aerospace company, Airbus, maybe some other one from like China, does better than Boeing. The government doesn't like that. So the government has an incentive in a way to say, try to reduce regulation as much as possible so that Boeing does really well and they pay us taxes. From that perspective, it's counterintuitive for them to create the FAA to slap a bunch of regulations on Boeing, right? But then on the other hand, the government's like, okay, if planes are flying out of the sky, then there's a safety issue. So we need the FAA, right? We have to govern them.
But how dangerous is social media compared to that? You can argue that as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, yes, the FAA and the FDA, to be fair, is all about harm. Like, and again,
you can't gauge harm.
No, I mean, in law, I think it's called tort law or something. There is like fundamental, there is, again, I'm not a lawyer, but there is defined harm. Like there's financial harm. There's, like against your character, like your, your outlook or whatever. And then there's property harm or damage or whatever, like emotional. There's a lot of different things, right? Which could be like a bodily harm, right? So yeah, where does the harm social media, does it follow that tort law easily? Does it fit in where it's like, yeah, everyone understands what the harm is when you fly out of the sky?
Yeah.
Right? Or a drug basically kills 100,000 people.
But you can't define that same thing for social media. It makes it more difficult. I don't know. That's like a tinfoil hat theory. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know.
Way, though, even regardless of the conspiracy theory, the question still remains: why is it so deregulated?
Yeah.
Whether someone comes to me and says it's because of A, B, or C, the question still remains: why is it so? And that's what I'm saying. It's been around for long enough, right? Like,
and there's no regulations, not really real regulations that I've seen, at least.
But here's where I think, right? And we're gonna get into this. The topic of freedom of speech. This is where I think things get complicated.
So let's get to the regulations of why isn't social media regulated?
So here's my theory, okay? Social media at the end of the day is your expression of stuff. And the data that you get, even like the movies you watch, the things you read, these are, in a way, yeah, those are inputs, and what you say are outputs. Your outputs are absolutely like your political views. All of these things are, they're essentially speech in a way, right? And whether it's written and whatnot. And so to regulate social media, the first thing that comes in the way, that all the other stuff I was talking about, the FDA, the FAA, the DOE, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. Like, they don't deal with this, with one thing, which is the freedom of speech, right? So for example, let's say you go, you know what? Kids should not be talking about 9/11. This is a topic we don't want kids to talk about, right? And there are some kids that are just like, well, what happened? Or they're asking, hey, you know what? This wasn't covered in my... As soon as, like, are they allowed to talk about it? Should the government be going in and censoring it? Censorship. Because at the end of the day, the FAA making a law for how the cabin should be pressurized during, like, rapid descent versus for an aircraft versus what should be said and what shouldn't be said. What movies should you be allowed to see versus what movies you shouldn't be allowed to see? Yeah, it's, in a way,
it's more political than it is.
There is one side, which is harm, and another side now, which is freedom of speech. Now what? How do you
gauge that? Yeah. Right. And again, when it comes to this sort of stuff, like freedom of speech and 9/11 and all that stuff, it's a really sticky, like, line that you kind of like tiptoe on. And I don't know, it can go either way. Like, there are a lot of conspiracy theories when it comes to that, and like a lot of things that make sense in one way and make sense in another. I don't think there's a point to kind of go into that.
Well, I'll ask you this simply. Should social media companies censor certain things?
No, I don't think so.
Everything should be on the table.
Oh, so then that's the part where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have like porn on there or something like that. Yeah.
No, fine. Let's say there's a
like no nudity or anything.
Yeah. Let's say you have a terms of condition where it's like this content, violence, all this content is against our, like, it's not. it's not
Well,
a certain like speech, like an area of speech. It's more like there's just certain things you can't post. Even that's kind of a fine line, to be honest.
Yeah.
But like, let's say, okay, you have that
you have that?
Yeah.
Do they censor anything else?
content in the sense of what you can write.
If you truly believe in the freedom of speech, then that means you can post whatever you want. But in Canada, it's a bit different, actually. It's a freedom of expression, not freedom of speech.
Okay.
Freedom of expression means that you can say whatever you want as long as it's not harming somebody else.
Yeah, but what's harm?
Being racist towards somebody or hateful towards somebody.
Even this, can you see, can be a little problematic.
Yeah, it is for sure. That's why you go to court for this sort of things. Like if you're violating someone's freedom of expression or if you're not. So a lot of, again, the sticky area, you create precedent for these sort of things. But there's no precedent created for social media. That's the problem.
I mean, there was the Cambridge.
And that's why X, you see the flip, whether you agree with it or not. Before it was left wing, for example, before let's say it was left wing and now it's right wing. How can someone just come and flip it? Is that allowed? Should be able to do that? Should you be able to restrict what people say, what people post, people, believe, right?
I'm probably going to get burned from both sides for saying this.
By me too, probably.
Whatever. The right wing, there's certain things if you say, they want to stop you from saying it. And the left wing will try to stop you from saying it. Different strategies on both, cancel culture on one side, maybe on the other side, just,
Hate.
or just being like ostracized until the point where you're not going to. But either way, the odd thing is like really left and really right, they're like the same people in a lot of ways. The tactics are a little bit different. It's the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, like, it's hard to regulate. I think that my 2 cents on this is the reason why there's difficulty regulating social media is the freedom of speech part, freedom of expression part. But to get back to the very original thing we were talking about is the ownership and usability of data. Okay, what does that have to do with freedom of speech, right? What does me searching up, I don't know, like a chair, and then, that being Amazon giving that to, I don't know, like my Google browser for some reason, and I'm just seeing pictures of chairs on the side of like every like website I go on, like how that has nothing to do with like, that's not a social media is like the user interface part. But this
data,
like everyone just circulating your data around without you.
And then this is the second thing though, when it comes to data, is the privacy aspect of it. There's no privacy anymore for somebody. What you believe and what you say and everything, whatever beliefs you hold, it's like public knowledge to everybody. People can find that data on you.
So that's the other thing too.
Do you have a freedom of privacy? You do. So then why are these
But here's where it gets interesting. You do have a freedom of privacy, but there's a but to this, okay? If you go out on the street right now, right? I don't care. Let's say it's 1950. You take a microphone and you're like, I believe A, B, C, and D. And then the next day, the newspapers put out an article on like, Omer thinks A, B, C, and D. Did they infringe on your privacy?
No, because you're in public. Yeah. So then you're asking to define whether or not social media is public or private.
Yeah, it's not like someone broke into your bedroom and then read your diary and then posted this into the, you know what I mean? Like,
but then but there is cases of that now. If you look at the Trump administration and their immigration policies, where they can actually look through your phone and look through your data or your social media and find these things out about you.
Okay, but here's the thing though. That's the weird thing. Okay, look, there's some nuance.
Should it be treated differently depending on what you post on social media?
No. Well, this is a loaded question, actually. I just want to say.
But it goes both ways.
No, I'm just saying this is a loaded question. But
some people will say yes, and some people say no. And I agree with both.
No, you can't. Like, I mean,
should you be judged for it? Yes. Should you be
wait.
penalized for it by the government? I don't know how I feel about that.
No. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Before the social media, right? Of like what the government is doing. Is social media a public place?
Yeah, that's the hard to define now. Do you define it as a public or private?
Okay, define a public place for me.
Out in the public, like outside.
Someone can basically
people can see you.
Someone can see you, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you're not.
If someone looks at you in public, you can't be like, "Hey, stop looking at me." Like, I mean, fine if they're like staring at you, like, but you know what I mean, like. So social media is the same thing. You're literally putting yourself out there, right? Like,
But a private account though.
okay, so here's the weird thing. If you have a public account with a bunch of stuff and the government wants to look through your public stuff, technically speaking, you put that out there. If you work as I don't know, the Toronto Sun, and someone pulls up, hey, what does this guy read about? You can do that, right? What actions they take, obviously we have to talk about that. But if you have a private account and they grab your phone and they're like, open it, I want to go through your Word docs, right? That technically, yeah,
It's violating privacy.
you're violating privacy. And then it's all about the probable cause. It's the same thing. What's the difference between that and searching your car at like at a
border? But the thing about the border is that
forget the border. I'm saying like, I don't know, you're just driving down the street. It's you were speeding. They pull you over.
Yeah,
for
they
speeding.
do probable cause or whatever. They say like, oh, it's suspicious.
I smell some. I smell
Yeah,
something.
they have ways to kind of force an action from you. Like, oh yeah, I smell something, but you might smell something, but someone smells something different. It's based on the person.
It's based on the discretion of the officer.
Exactly.
And
yes.
And the assumption is the officer has really good discretion.
Yeah. Like, remember what happened to you on the highway? You want to go over it or not?
You know what? Let's just say I had a very interesting situation with a
New York police officer.
I think it was upstate New York. It was near like Elmira or something. Like it's like near Elmira or Ithaca. Like I was driving to Boston, but I took like upstate New York because I wanted to stop in New York for a bit and then hit up Boston. But yeah, anyways, yeah, it was a very odd
because he used a measuring method.
So okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm driving, right? And to be fair, like I wasn't going exactly the speed limit, but I wasn't going that much higher than the speed limit. I get pulled over. The officer comes up to me and he gives me this like, I don't know, by the way, guys, like I'm not from New York, okay? So I didn't know this is how it works. In Canada, it works a little bit differently, but there's like this long form, right? And this form doesn't even say how much I owe. Like, first of all, like what the punishment is for this traffic violation. It just says, and it says like, oh, how fast did you go? And it said something like 88 miles an hour. But then there's a box where it's like, oh, the measuring system. And it was just blank. And I'm like, hey, like, how'd you even measure this? He's like, yeah, I saw you. And I'm like, what, with your eyes? You saw me go 88 miles an hour? Like, wow, you're traveling like this way, like, so what, like, you're like, okay, I'm going 60, you're going 88, so I know you're going 140, like, I know the relative speed from you is 148. Like, I'm like, how are you eyeballing this? Right? Like, this guy, like, you know what, like,
that's the thing, the measuring tool to use.
And by the way, me questioning this and me being like, I think I said something like, yeah, officer, you're either like a magician or like you have like one of the greatest like eyesights of all time that you can detect like with just pure eyesight. Like, forget radar guns, man. And I think the guy didn't
appreciate that.
I don't think he appreciated that comment, and that's when things kind of went downhill. But that the point here is the privacy stuff is very difficult to say. And again, like it's
up to the discretion of whoever's
yeah, like it is up to the discretion, but the government searching your phone, social media being censored can hurt, the freedom of speech. These things are understandable arguments. There's still this bigger argument of all the companies sharing your data.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know what? We started off with Netflix, and I think we kind of like swayed into like, when we talk social media, we're talking about, what I say online. But why should Netflix showcase what shows you watch to Hulu? I wasn't on Hulu.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do that.
Or why, for example, can they sell this information to, let's say, an investor or like a movie maker or something, and they're like, oh, they have all this data about this specific topic. There's a lot of interest for this specific topic. Go make a movie about it now.
Is that so bad?
But shouldn't that be public information? How come he has access to it because he has some certain connections or
no?
money?
Well, he paid for it.
Yeah, but why is he paying for my information? Did I agree to it?
Yes.
And if
with the terms of conditions, right? You did agree to it.
It's true, but then shouldn't it be public knowledge then? Because it's still my information.
What you want it? Okay. Do you want it to be like?
I don't like the idea of, again. This is a political view, but like the idea of privatizing information.
Okay, well, when you buy a stock, are you going to every earnings call? And when they mail you the whole like, oh, this is the financials and stuff, are you looking through it?
No, I'm not.
So there's like you can do your.
But can you? But do you even have the option to see it? That's
No, you can't. You don't. You cannot ask.
That's the privatization of data. Then.
Okay. So you're saying, if for whatever reason there was an ability for you to say, I want to audit you, Netflix, show me for the last 5 years where all my data went. Fine, I agree to the terms of condition that you can do stuff with my data.
I actually think you can do that.
Can you request your data?
I think you can you can do that for Snapchat, I know for sure. And maybe Instagram and TikTok as well.
How do you
I think it's a regulation. You can go on the app and you can ask for it. But it takes a couple of days and they give you a huge like document of like all your information.
You can do that?
I think you can. I think it's because of a regulation though.
In US you can do this? Or in Canada?
In Canada.
I know, well, we're much more regulated than US is.
I'm not sure if in the US you can do that.
We don't do that actually.
I'm kind of curious.
I'm kind of curious too.
Again, fact check that, but I'm pretty sure you can.
I didn't know this was a thing.
Back to the data.
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that you can, so you can basically ask these social media companies or on the app or on Instagram and say, show me where all my data is going. So then I honestly have a question. If you know where your data is going, you can ask for this. There's a terms and conditions that is no more complicated than other things that you do, right? Like I talked about the banking and all that stuff. In a lot of ways, like there is some regulation, some control over it. Mm-hmm. And so then those are the two issues, right? One is what can you do in the social media? That's the freedom of speech, politics part. And then like, what can they do with your data? So I guess it comes down to, again, not to pretend to be a lawyer or anything, but there are certain things that are enforceable contracts and there are some things that are non-enforceable contracts. I don't know if you know this. So for example, if I sign a contract right now with you, right? And it's like, we're going to do a 100-meter dash. And if I win, I get to beat the shit out of you. That's the contract, right? And then I win. And you're like, nah, I don't want you to beat the shit out of me. Too bad. No. And I'm like, no. And let's say you don't let me do it. You like run away or whatever. So I take you to court and I'm like, hey, I have a contract. We're both, adults in our like right state of mind. This guy signed this. He admits to, and you admit, yeah, I lost the race. The judge is going to look at that contract and be like, this contract is unconstitutional. And he's going to throw it out in the trash. It's not enforceable, right? So why am I going into this? Well, if a regulation came out where the government was like, oh, you can't do A, B, C, and D with your customer data, social media companies, they can't just bypass that by throwing on a terms of condition, oh, we're going to do these things, too bad, you signed it. So the only way, like they're essentially, everything is fair game on a terms of contract or terms and conditions unless it's unconstitutional. So do you think there should be a regulation banning like companies like hard set, you can't do this with your data?
Do I think? Or
yeah, I'm not.
In general?
In general, yeah, I'm curious.
I don't think. I think there should be.
There should there.
Yeah.
Yeah, elaborate on this.
Because I don't know, man. I think because of the privacy aspect of it and the fact that you can really find out anything about somebody from their data, like now, especially now in the age of social media. Data is a really powerful thing. And the amount of data that they have collected on you on these social media apps is actually pretty dangerous to your own well-being as well. They have your location, where you go, what you look like, right? So all these kind of different factors kind of like, it can be dangerous for somebody to just have that information leaked. You know what I'm trying to say? They kind of figure things out about you with this information. They don't just have your face and location. They have a lot more than that. It's a lot more than you actually think.
I agree. I mean, location you mentioned, we didn't even talk about this. We need to get into location actually. I don't know if you, like, again, everybody uses Google Maps. I don't know if you deleted Apple Maps if that's even possible. But I have Apple Maps on my phone. I never use it. Whenever let's say I'm at home, right? I jump in my car Tuesday morning, I don't know, like 9, 10 a.m. and it goes 12 minutes away from
work or whatever, from school.
From school, whatever, right?
How does it know that without you inputting that information?
Or maybe my grocery run on Thursday evenings, right? And I jump in, 6 minutes away from, Costco. Wait, this is not even something I do every day. Like, this is on a weekly basis. Okay, it's saving this information.
It's pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate, yeah. Because, I mean, we all follow some sort of, like, schedule, right? So, yeah, like, I'm pretty sure today, it's been like, it's been a while since I've been to Toronto. I'm pretty sure today it was like 2 hours to, like, Young Dundas.
That's crazy. But I don't doubt that though, because besides location and like where you go routine wise, they also track voice when you're not even using the app. Some apps track your voice as well.
Always?
Always.
But you can't turn it off?
If you have the application even on in the background, I'm pretty sure they can. Fact checking me on this stuff.
Can you turn it off though on your settings, or you're like, these apps, I don't want you to access my
But then the usability of the app goes down. Or so Snapchat, I did turn it off. I turned off my microphone settings on it, and it asked me every single time I open my app, you need to turn your microphone on to use the app.
No, but what about the feature where it's like only use when on? Oh, you're saying it's in the background, so then they bypass it. Oh yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a pretty sticky situation. Yeah. And even that is a recent thing, like being able to disable them using these certain functions. Like you have the choice of disabling these functions from the app, but it wasn't always there.
Okay, but this is where things are a little bit odd, okay? So here's a question I have for you. And again, I really want someone to like jump in here who's an expert on this, but CCTVs don't record audio because you can only record audio when you ask for permission, from what I understand, okay? So I can't just start recording people on the street or tapping your phone. You cannot do this. This is illegal, right? So in the same way, how do they, is it in the TOC where you say,
you agree to it? Or when you give permission to access the microphone.
And you give them.
And you give it to them.
So like, yeah, because I was going to say, like, you can't record somebody's audio without their permission, but you gave them your permission.
Yeah, but do they have permission? You can't kind of decide when they can control.
This is, you know what? You mentioned a really good point. I said you can use my microphone, and the company goes, okay, so I can use your microphone 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But I didn't say you could use it all the time, right? Yeah. Like, so, and yeah, that's,
because if you do it, people have done this test all the time. They'll go to their phone, dog toy. All right. They'll open up their app, Amazon, whatever. First thing comes up, advertisement, dog toy.
Okay. But here's the thing though. Once they take that data, do they save the audio file? Like, how is that data?
So is it, you're asking, is it properly, contained? Like, can people access this information?
No. Let's say someone accesses it, right? What is that data? Like, are they essentially the most
machine learning though?
No, but what's the most raw? It can be machine learning, but what's the most raw data input that they have? What is their library of data? Because this is important. Is it just random words you said? Just a bunch of random words?
I think it is the random words.
Or is it just
the whole audio file? I doubt it's the audio file. I'm pretty sure it's keywords.
Is it just a bunch of MP3 files? Yeah.
Like no. There's no. And if there is,
no, because I'm not saying. But then I guess when you go on Instagram and you go show me everything and all my data, do they tell you what raw data file that data was? Like what is data? Is it a text file? A text file of what? Like, back to this point now, when you ask, hey, I want to see where my data went. No, I want to see what was my data. Show me the files. Can you do that? What's in that? I haven't looked. No, what's that folder? Like, or what?
But I heard it's a really hefty file, so I'm assuming it has everything.
Like, no.
But it wouldn't have audio for 10 years.
No, but I mean, you don't know what these guys, like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like.
From what I remember seeing a video, it does take keywords. It doesn't say like and, but, or, but it takes like toy, dog.
So there's already
noun, it takes nouns.
But you're missing my point. To even be able to do a first layer pass on raw data, what is the raw? You're saying, oh, there's keywords. You're taking some sound pressure wave of my voice. A microphone is converting that into some sort of transcript. No, but no. Forget the transcript. It has to be an audio file first.
I don't think it has. Oh, at first it does. Yeah.
You cannot go
and is it deleted afterwards, or where is it? Like...
No, you cannot go. There's two ways. Okay, realistically, if I'm saying something, there's two ways someone could maybe make out my speech. They record my actual voice, and then it gets transcribed, and the audio file gets deleted, or somehow they use some sort of like lip matching and know what language I'm talking and try to like get the words that way. I don't know. Maybe they can do this, right? But my point is, at some point there has to, or if there was no audio file, then why are they using the microphone? Why are they grabbing audio data? Where for sure there's a step where there's audio data.
Whether it's deleted or not, there is a step where there's audio data.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the part where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, isn't
that made him uncomfortable? No, everything else was fine at this point. Like, wait, they have the audio? Fuck.
I'm saying too much shit.
But that's the scary part, right? And then again, it comes back to the same point where it can be militarized or used against you. Should that be allowed? Is that privacy now? Are you in public or are you in private?
No, but no. It's not a public or private problem because, like you said, you gave them. It can be private. I can record you in a private conversation. We're recording ourselves right now.
The problem is the access to information, though. It's okay if they record it. I'm fine with it.
I actually am not even okay with them recording my audio
files. But you agree to it. Let's say you agree to that, okay? I'm okay with them recording it.
Are you actually okay with that?
Okay, what can they do as a Snapchat? Let's say it's Snapchat. What can they do as Snapchat with my audio? My problem is now, can other people access that same data for something else? That's my problem with it. I think the danger actually doesn't come with the app itself to recording it.
Look,
it's selling it to other people.
Look. Here's the thing. If I'm talking audio files, again, with the assumption that the audio files are saved, the thing is this, okay? This is already a problem as soon as there's audio files. I'm sorry. There's an entire log. Your phone's always on you. How often are you a microphone non-recordable distance away from your phone?
Maybe like 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day.
Right? So I'm just saying, yeah.
That's the scary part. And
no, I'm just saying, like, the audio file thing is like...
Your phone and the data it has on you knows you more than you know yourself.
There's no doubt about that, right? People have said this all the time. But there's, like, those kind of people. Wasn't there this one guy on, like, Rogan who was like, yeah, you gotta, like, I know a way you can, like, get rid of... Like, you gotta, like...
I saw that.
You gotta,
Snowden?
Huh?
Wasn't it Edward Snowden?
Yeah. When he was like, you gotta, like, get rid of everything. You gotta, like...
He still had an iPhone, but he took the camera out, took the microphone out, took, like, everything out. Like, what's left? Why do you even have an iPhone, bro?
No. But I mean, just to like read some shit, man. Like maybe I want to read something on. How am I supposed to read?
As soon as you connect to the internet, I think you're screwed. That's another thing too, though. Like the internet.
Was it inevitable though? Was this the road?
I think that there was a lot of places where they could have stopped it and they didn't.
No, I'm talking about them. Who's them? No. You know what? Okay, the reason. Them. Yeah. No. You know what? I see this too many times on.
Some of y'all know who I'm talking about.
No.
When I say them, by the way, some of y'all.
No, I'm just saying, like, it always comes down to like, oh, they did it, them, they're after me. No, they always say this, right? No. I'm not gonna do this on this podcast. If you're gonna say them, there has to be like
the government.
Okay, so you think at some point the government is in cahoots with the social media companies?
100%. How else? Do you think they don't know how much information they were taking, how much information they were selling? Because at first it wasn't really allowed. Facebook actually was just doing it without getting the proper...
They only got mad because Cambridge Analytica was a non-US company.
Exactly. And then they got into shit for it. And even then, it was a huge scandal back then. You had some freaking skinny old man come again into the
Can Google see my phone?
So when I go here and I post something, do you guys know I posted it? And it's like, yeah, bro. You know how to use Facebook, bro. Congratulations. But you're not getting down to the root problem. Again, I always have a problem with the root problems, but I don't have a solution to the root problems. So if you guys have a solution for them, definitely come out with it. But
it's, you know why people say you don't have a solution, or in general, it's like hard to find a solution, because the solution is always compromise.
Or compromise, yeah.
And the compromise, if you put a policy out there right now, it'll hurt social media. Maybe the algorithms will get worse. Maybe you'll take an L. Think about this. Like, imagine all these companies couldn't use your audio recording anymore. How much that'll hurt their advertising system.
Mm-hmm. Advertising is a huge
industry. Dumped so much money it's like you saying you paid a lot of money into building your house better and all that value goes away. It's a huge loss, right? So, you know, these are things people have stocks in this, but I'm not trying to peddle like, oh yeah, you know, poor social media companies, you know, like we got to look out for them. No, I'm just saying guys, like, bro. I'm just saying there's like a whole, like, it's more complex than this, right? Like it is a compromise at the end of the day. And in a way, it is the greater compromise of, you see this in like, you know, you see this in a lot of books and TV shows, this concept of security versus freedom. And the reason I say that is because the more you say you can't do this with your data, you can't do that with your data, this is bad for you, that's bad for you, we reduce harm. The security goes up and your freedoms go down.
And your regulations, yeah,
right? And it's always like this, right? So, yeah.
Where's that line you're saying?
Where's that line? And it's a hard line.
Yeah.
Especially in democracy, it's a hard line.
But Canada is a lot better with it than the States, in my opinion. But people agree or disagree with them. But they do have actually laws when it comes to news, even in the news. You can't just post whatever you want as a news channel.
But now let me ask you
something. Accredited channel to be a news channel.
How much of the fact that we can't launch a successful domestic social media company has to do with the fact, because that's the other opposite side of the coin, right? Of we have so much regulation, it's hard for companies in any space to do it. You're just going to go to the States. Okay, fine. You know what? Like, it's too hard to run a social media company here. We're just going to run it in the States. There's more people. I mean, there's obviously volume in general, regardless of regulation. Volume is already there. But how much does the regulations hurt company growth? And then they go over there, everything's deregulated, and boom, everything's better. No.
Better for...
No, but like, what is the incentive of...
It's harmful for the consumer.
How am I going to launch a social media company in Canada?
Yeah, you won't. Again. But these things are in place to protect the bottom line, the people. Is that a good or bad thing?
Okay, well...
Are you glad that they're protecting you or no? Again, it's a loaded question. I do ask these loaded questions.
I mean, you keep asking these loaded questions after. Are you okay with them protecting you?
Yeah, but they are protecting you in a way, are they not? Would you not have preferred them to allow these companies to record your audio and transfer that?
But they are still recording my audio.
But I'm saying, would you have preferred them to stop them from doing that?
At the expense of... No, but this is why it's a loaded question. They're stopping me on the north side of the border and also potentially killing... There could have been an Instagram office here. I don't even know. I think there is maybe, or let's say there's a Meta office in Toronto. That could have been 300 extra employees because it's just, for whatever reason, like there's just more demand of like the company growth here. And again, it may not correlate 1-to-1, right? But like, I'm just saying like, yes, I want them to protect youth, especially. I think where I am, if you were to ask me, are you very pro-regulation? I'm always like, it's a nuanced answer for me until you get to kids. As soon as you ask me, okay, this person is under 18, what should the regulations be? I'm like, put every single possible regulation on the table. Absolutely. That's where, for me, I draw the line. I don't want 13-year-olds data being utilized willy-nilly. I don't want them signing long TOC agreements that they don't understand what's going on. This is completely absurd.
Yeah, but then you also, again, as a teenager, they are going to be rebellious and they want to do these things, right? You're like restricting their freedom to do these things. That it's always been that way since the beginning.
I completely disagree.
Media, I was like, oh, I'm a rebellious teen. Like, I have to go against the grain, and I want to do this for myself. So then I'm making that decision for myself.
If that's
whether or not it's a good or bad decision, they do that anyways.
So if that's
should they be able to decide that?
No. But there's an easy answer to this. We already have the answer to this in society. If that's true, then why is underage drinking still illegal?
Yeah, true. Sure.
Why?
And they do it anyways.
Yeah, no, but sure, they can do it if they want. Anyone can do anything, right? But the point is, all you can do is the legality of it, right? My point is, why didn't the government just succumb to it? Oh, you know what? Yeah, they're always going to rebel. You know what? Legal drinking age 8.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they're like, it doesn't matter. The harm for kids, until you're 18, you don't know what's going on enough. Your decision making is compromised. A lot of people aren't going to where it wasn't yours.
I see that now, but as a kid, I'm like, no, I already know everything. I disagree with the adults. You know, that's the way a kid is, though. Like, they think they already know what the entire world is. Experience really does build character and your own values, morals.
Sure, I agree with that. Up until the point where it cannot be something that you're exposed to that completely destroys you.
Yeah.
Right? Where, driving age is now 10. And so to try and learn something in life, the kid dies.
Yeah.
Like, Well, you're not going to learn much more because your life ended at 11, right? Like,
so then that's the question. Then how do you define the dangers of social media? You can't. It's not as factual or based in like a hard truth as like flight, a plane, right? You can't define it as easily. The parameters are different. So that's the.
I mean, you have to have parent oversight. Your parents have to see what you.
And I know they're gonna hate. The kids are gonna hate this opinion, man.
What, parental oversight?
Parental oversight, yeah.
I mean,
most parents don't know any better. They don't know themselves. How are you gonna have oversight over the kid? They'll be like, "Yeah, I'll sign it. I'll sign it for you." These people, some parents post their kid as a social media star.
Okay, that's a totally separate thing. I think that's completely stupid. I don't know. They're like using their kids to get views to get some extra cash, right?
Yeah, that's really weird.
I think that's.
And like people really like, there's some weird people online, man. You cannot risk this. Like, you can't risk posting your kid like that. Like, that's my opinion.
That's my opinion too. I completely agree with you on that.
But back to the aspect of, I wanted to get more into like AI and bots actually as well, because it can influence opinion as well.
Okay.
Kids being on social media and bots being on social media. Is the internet even real anymore? Is this AI like LLMs creating too many bots for us to handle? Like, are there real people? Am I speaking to a real person?
Okay, so who's creating the bots? OpenAI is creating the bots?
No.
Who's creating them?
This is another conspiracy theory, obviously.
No,
right?
but like, no, let's just, the thing is, the conspiracy theory has to at least make sense. I want to at least have like a, like,
but I did see something recently, and it's about 4chan actually, because you know how bad 4chan has gotten.
yeah,
Have you heard about it?
yeah.
Yeah. So they released some data about the amount of bots they receive, and the majority of bots you assume though from Russia or whatever, Israel. 90% of their bots are from Israel.
Okay, sure. There's a bunch of bots from Israel. It could have been Russia. It could have been, look, it honestly, let's even ignore, huh?
Could have been anybody, but it's
No,
yeah.
but
just by coincidence.
no, but you know what? Let's just even say, right? Let's just say, okay, there's a bunch of bots from Israel, but is this proven? Like we know this is
They
happening.
released it.
Okay.
I saw some article.
So are there is it companies making the bots?
Not the company, the state of Israel.
They're making the bots.
Yeah.
You're saying they literally have a division of a bunch of, and they're like, yo, make some bots
Yeah.
for propaganda purposes. So then there's the same thing happening here.
Could be. Or can people just make bots for their own gain? Who you don't know. A company could, a really wealthy company could make a bot for like promoting, let's say L'Oreal. Because L'Oreal had like a huge balding scandal, multiple balding scandals. They'd be like, oh, you know what? Pay some bots. Get some really good content, a lot of good comments on these videos to engage, create more engagement,
Okay.
like more positive.
Okay, so let's break this down. Let's do a really
It's possible.
let's do a really easy example. We own a restaurant.
Mhm.
We need Google reviews. We just launched it. We use some bots to really like, oh, we're like 4.9 now,
Yeah.
right? What rules do you think we're breaking? What is the rule we're breaking? Let's break it down.
That you're not a real person. I don't know.
No, but you know what I mean? Like
It's a fake. It's a fake. It's not authentic. I don't know.
No,
I don't know what
but
the rule is.
No, but the reason I'm asking this is because a lot of times we're like, oh, they're doing this, but like, what are they doing?
But do you not believe in the influence that they could have on somebody, especially younger people?
No, so like that's the big thing. Like if a state is pushing out, now we're not like, look, whether a state does.
Screw the state. Let's forget about the state
No.
itself. Let's say the possibility of happening.
No. Look, the state matters. I'll tell you why. Whether we're in 1940s and there's posters everywhere, you know, the United States military needs you. You're going to be a hero if you go there. That's propaganda. To radio shows always talking about a certain topic, causing people to think about it a lot and maybe adopt that opinion. Propaganda. To they're making bots so that in social media accounts they're making certain thing. Propaganda. It's less about the bots for me, and it's more about in every single generation there is some sort of communication tool and
That radicalizes people.
that you can use for propaganda. The printing press you can use for propaganda. There is no difference, right, of printing random stuff in the 1930s that there is with,
I'll say something though.
yeah.
Now there are regulations for that though. You can't just say whatever you want in print. It took them a while, but they're like, you know,
Like what, misinformation laws?
Yeah,
you mean?
misinformation laws.
Give me an example of a misinformation law.
I don't know.
Like, how does it work?
I'm not sure. When it comes to the newspaper, I'm sure there are organizations like you said before that kind of regulate these certain people from saying whatever they want to say.
Yeah, so can I, let's say, you know, like there was a debate political debate or something, can I make a article on like the Calgary Herald or something and say, this person said that yesterday and it was terrible, even though they never said that? I can't do that. I can't do that, right? So there's obviously bars of journalism, like where it's like
But you can do it on social media, which is the regulation aspect.
No, but that's the thing though, is social media journalism.
People believe it is. People get a lot of information.
No, but that's the problem, right? Like, no.
That is the problem.
Like, if you have okay, let's say you regulate everything to the end of the.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not pro regulation.
No, but let's say you do. No, but I'm not saying you particularly, but I'm saying let's say you go down, because you have to go down a road, right? You leave it how it is right now, or you hit it with harder regulations, right? And now there's a forum. Someone creates a forum on a random website, right? And says, right before an election, they start saying some stuff on this forum, and they just send it on a mass WhatsApp group to a bunch of people. A bunch of old people read it, and young people read it, and they believe it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go after this person and be like, this guy has to go to jail? Like, what? Like, oh, they spread misinformation. Is the spreading of misinformation as an individual an illegal act?
No, I don't think it is. And that's how people do it.
Like, and should it be?
With ill intent. With ill intent, I think it is.
What do you mean ill intent?
But but you can just argue it's a joke. But some people believe jokes.
No. But
you can say it's a meme now.
What's ill intent?
Ill intent is to.
This is literally like,
I don't know.
Like a vague term, ill intent.
Yeah, it harms people, I guess. Yeah.
Well, like
some sort of misinformation about, let's say, a certain race or certain people.
I agree with that. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go. But they were. Okay, here's the thing. They went around saying that, I don't know, a certain political party, they're gonna ban eggs off supermarkets everywhere. They go around, they're peddling this like crazy. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, if you vote for this party, eggs are gonna come off the shelves. Somehow it like blew up on social media. Was that a legal thing to start?
I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I mean, technically,
I don't know what legalities
the
of it.
egg company can, or rather, someone or the government, whatever party, can say, "Oh, you are hurting our image," right? It's a defamation type thing, like on our
defamation lawsuit.
Yeah, it could be a
defamation lawsuit.
It's not going to be like a defamation thing. So there are ways, but again, these laws. The thing about these type of laws is, the person who has been harmed or the entity that has been harmed has to go sue the person. That it's not like a criminal case where it's not you versus somebody else, or you versus the officer that arrested you. It's you versus the state. The state is the one who's like, it's a public prosecutor that's being like, hey, you broke the law, right? So this isn't the same thing. If the company doesn't sue you, the public prosecutor is not coming after you for defaming the right. So that's the difference. Like, it's damages. Defamation, I believe, it's not criminal, it's civil. It's like you broke someone's car, you got to pay them the damages.
And again, you can't understand the damages of misinformation online. You can't regulate that. You can't
and that's why it's going to be a court. It's going to be in the courts with two people battling it out, right? But what I'm saying is like, like you can heavily regulate it, but
then you're left with.
I think the truth is, right, it is people have the right
to say whatever they want.
To spew misinformation.
And you have to adapt to that. Basically what you're saying, like with the age of technology and how
if you're a complete dumbass, okay, let's say you're just completely stupid.
No, but
you're not gonna last very long. Like you are.
But that's not the problem anymore. You have to adapt the new norms of social media. Like
how often are you? No. Let me.
No one knew that how harmful social media would be.
No. Yeah. Okay. Come on, man.
No one knew.
Cyberbullying.
That was a new thing. That was 10 years ago.
That wasn't 10 years ago. That wasn't 10 years. Cyberbullying was like 2010, bro. 2000.
Yeah. When did social media come out? 2000.
Sure, yeah, but it wasn't. So okay, that's proves that.
MySpace, by the way, we didn't talk about MySpace.
MySpace, the OG. You know what? Honestly, like MySpace. To be fair, I didn't actually use MySpace.
Me neither.
I used
it before my time.
I used MSN. Yeah. MSN. I used a lot. Jumping on. I used MSN in like random forums, talking to like random
people.
Random people.
I was fucking 6 years old talking to random people.
I think I was like. I remember I was like 11, and I was like talking to this group of people like every day, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to like import some like products from like, I don't know, like from like Philippines or something, like sunglasses, and they're like, we're gonna start like a business. Anyone that's like really interested. I'm like, yeah, I really want to like start.
Buy some sunglasses.
I don't know. I was like, oh, I'll sell them for you or whatever. And they're like, yeah, just don't open the packaging, the sunglasses. And it was like a whole thing that I was like, and man, I look back and I'm like,
you're an idiot, bro. I don't know.
I was 11.
But that's the thing. That's the problem, though. You didn't know any better, and you really have to learn how to navigate technology, especially when new technologies that come out. Like right now, again, people are scared about how they're gonna lose their jobs. I'm sure people were scared when the first camera was made as well. Artists are like, oh my God, we're screwed. But in turn, it actually created more art. And I do agree, it does kind of take that soul out of the artwork, like Miyazaki, right? The guy who made Spirited Away and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's like, he hates it. He hates AI art. But, and I do agree with it. There's no soul to it. There's no passion in the actual artwork itself. You didn't put the details in there, and the AI kind of generated a random image, right?
So,
but it could also be a tool for some people, in a sense. You can create it and use it to create more art as well, in my opinion.
Of all the things that we talk about, and I'm sure we'll talk about in the future, art is probably, how should I say this? I don't understand art very well, okay? No, let me actually, no, let me take a step back. I don't understand visual art very well. I'm sure would you say that someone writing a science fiction novel is art? Is a form of
art.
Yeah, I can appreciate. Political commentary I can appreciate. That's a type of art in a way.
Design in like engineering design.
Engineering design, although like engineering design is a little bit interesting. Like on one hand, there's certain things you're designing because you need something for physics, but then there is the element of like, okay, but I want it to look
visual
sweet.
Aspect,
there's a visual aspect. So there are things I appreciate, but when it comes to like pure art, I don't think I'm very strong in that aspect. Not only as an artist, which I'm not, but also from the receiving side. Like if we see a painting, a lot of people will be like, this is like unbelievable. And I'll look at it and be like, yeah, so it looks like I'm not going to say, oh, it looks crap, but like, yeah, it looks like a great painting, but I don't know why painting A looks good to me, painting B looks good to me, but everyone's like, oh, A is like world-class and B is like an amateur artist. I can't tell the difference between that. However, I understand what you're saying when you're talking about like, and it's a point you made before that I want to come back to about people losing their jobs, but we'll start here with it's soulless AI art, right? Or AI, even like, researchers or people writing something, like they've spent so much years doing research on something or writing something out, and AI comes along and boom, you can just write something. Like you almost feel like done dirty by like the AI, where you're like, well, that was what I was doing. This is though something that has happened in human history forever. You go back, there was probably a guy that was just pushing a wheelbarrow. That was like his entire job. Here's an example. I'm pretty sure there was a guy that would, like when we didn't have electricity, throughout the city, all the oil lamps, there was a guy that went around and like lit all the oil lamps and stuff.
And maintained them and stuff.
So imagine how that group, like the Oil Lamp Association, felt, right? When light bulbs and electricity started becoming a thing. They're like, oh, it's over for us. Oh no, but that's the thing, like it's gonna happen, right? Here's how I look at it. It's all about the demand, okay? If humans have a demand for art that you say has a soul in it, that there's some sort of connection between the art and the person that's drawing it. If that's something people can see and feel, no AI can replace it. But if that was just something that we made up because AI never existed, and as soon as AI came along, we never gave a crap about like the soul of art anymore, then yeah, it's gonna die. It all depends on the end user. If people don't want that type of art anymore, it's gonna die. And that is I
think it depends on the artist. Again, these industries don't actually die though. There are still people who hand draw things, right? There are still
percentage.
Yeah, there are a percentage of people who do that still to this day. It doesn't completely die out. It's still a method of art. But I think that it is going to end up being, regardless if you like it or not, it's going to be a tool that people use to continue. I personally don't agree with it.
What? Agree with what exactly? What part of it do you not agree with?
The idea that like, oh, I'm just going to put some prompt in here and then like I'm going to get exactly the image I want. So actually going out and creating it yourself. I think you lose that aspect. But again, these people are also disadvantaged.
No, but wait, hold on. Why doesn't the use case matter? I'll give you an example. I have a school project due, let's say I'm like in grade 11, right? And you know what? I want to go play soccer because you know what? Like, what's wrong with like getting some physical exercise? Okay, cool. I come home. Oh man, this thing's due some history project and I need some like pictures of like some, I don't know, like some building burning or whatever. What's wrong for that assignment if I just use an AI image to make a building burning, save myself like 45 minutes just hand drawing this crap?
That's fine. That's completely. I don't have no problem with that. I have a problem with people who you're not actually learning the skill anymore. You're kind of you're getting too lazy to learn the actual skill itself, and you will never progress in that skill if you don't actually do the hard work to learn that skill.
But do you think someone who's like,
okay, let's say you had to go fly a plane and you only use autopilot. Sure, you can fly the plane, but there are instances where you would need to fly it by yourself.
Well, here's
but
here's the difference though. And actually, there's a little bit of a difference, but it's interesting that you mentioned this. So the reliance of devices, right? First of all, you're talking about learning a skill. There's two, I'm gonna almost
perfecting the skill.
No, but I'm actually gonna kind of say two different things here. But one side is, oh man, you hear the cops? You know we're in Toronto, by the way. But yeah, so, oh man,
Let's get past.
That's loud.
All right.
Yeah, so if you really want to learn a skill, you're gonna learn the skill. Okay, it's simple as that. You're talking about, oh, these people aren't learning art. How many people do you know that they really want to be a oil painter, but all they do is AI art? That's not how it works. If you're gonna be an oil painter, you have that inert inside like like that passion to learn about it. You're not gonna skip it. Same thing like you really want to play basketball. You're gonna go out there and play basketball because you enjoy it, right? I enjoyed engineering a lot. So even when I was done my undergrad, even when I was done my master's, and I hadn't started my PhD yet, I would do random stuff to try and learn stuff. I was the guy playing around with the Arduino, making light splash in my room. I was doing random stuff because I was like, you know what? I didn't learn about embedded systems that well properly. I don't know how UART connections work. I didn't learn this in mechanical as much. So I want to like learn these things because that was, now you can go on ChatGPT and be like, oh, I need this, like, I need the code on like Arduino IDE, exactly how to make this work. Boom, it pops out. But for me, I enjoyed being able to write it myself. So whether the AI was there or not, it would have been irrelevant to me. I would have actually probably used the AI, had it, and then tried to do it myself and make sure that,
use it as a tool.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Right.
Which will be used as in the future.
But let's say there's a guy who's not like me and he still wants the lights and he knows he has to buy an Arduino and that's the cheapest way to do it. And then he's like, I'm not going to learn how to use, like, I think it's based on C# or something. I'm not going to learn C# for this. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go on ChatGPT and throw it in. For their use case, it makes sense.
Yes. Because that's something that you have to type out and create. Sure. But for art and visual aspect, like the world, when you look at the world itself, you are limited to describing the world with words. You can't describe this entire room in its entirety with just words. You have to see it and like create it yourself. You see what I'm trying to say?
Okay. Do blind people not?
Yeah, they can understand it to an extent, but you're saying they understand the full picture? Yes or no?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
You don't think? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay.
And that's sad that they won't get to experience that fully, right? But again, you won't be made redundant by this tool because of the fact that it is limited in its capacity. You are the one defining what it can do, right? And again, when it comes to real information, it's also limited in terms of how correct it is as well. At the end of the day, you still need a computer scientist or a programmer to actually code the things you want to code in some sort of software. You can't only rely on AI to do that for you. You have to still you still need someone to understand the code itself for it to function properly.
Yeah,
that's why your jobs, most people's jobs won't be made redundant. It'll be used more as a tool. And yes, it will make it more efficient, and some people may lose their jobs because of that. But there still will be a need for these people to be in the industry itself.
Assembly lines.
Sorry, go on.
In manufacturing plants, the more automated these become, they've in the last 20, 30 years, like the automation has been like it's skyrocketed, right? A lot of people, would you say like that blue collar, like labor type job? Of course, those have decreased. right?
Yeah. But you still need someone who understands the system itself to
Fine. Yeah. You need the automation engineer.
Yeah.
You need techs, but more maybe like instrumentation technologists, like electrical engineering technologists. You need like slightly different skills. Yeah, like there's a skill shift, right? Like, but maybe originally you needed 10,000 people in that plant, but now you only need 300.
Exactly, because the efficiency aspect of it.
Right.
I don't think it is a very sad thing. It's a shift. I don't think it's a completely bad thing. I think, again, it can be used in a way to make everyone's lives easier. And we do take advantage of the fact that it does make it easier.
Yeah.
For example, again, we talk about Netflix. It makes our lives easier when we go on it to watch whatever show we want. It already suggests you things that you can watch that you will like. It makes your life easier, whether you agree with it or not. But I think it should be used in that aspect only, like to make our lives easier. It shouldn't be taking away things that people actually enjoy doing, like art.
So do you think then there's someone out there, right, who's like, I really wanted to pursue art, but because of AI, I'm not going to do it anymore because there's no point. Do you see that sentiment?
No, I don't see it, because you're still gonna need an artist out there. People's visions, like, there are artists in time where at the time people don't understand their art, but they are geniuses later on, right? Some people's visions
Da Vinci?
aren't appreciated. No, some people's visions aren't appreciated until later on in life, and that's okay. If you can, as an artist, if you can live with that, I think you'll still appreciate the use of AI as well.
Overall, when it comes to the problems of AI, or just the different sides that we talked about, there's the different types of, there's machine learning versus AI, the differences there. So there's the engineering part to it, the LLMs, how that can affect research and how the libraries don't have access to research stuff. We're talking about them replacing certain careers and jobs, how they influence social media, how they influence advertising,
and how social media user data.
Yeah, like, so there's the data acquisition part, what you do with the data, how the data are being used, and then on top of all of that, it's been disruptive. It's really like, and when you really like think about it, I know a lot of people are like, oh, all I hear about is like AI this, AI that, like it's just like a big thing. But when you really think about it, yeah, it's changed a lot. Right? There's a reason why it is like talked about so much. It is changed. Everything we touch now is changing. Like there is something AI related.
I think it's a very useful thing that can be used for everybody.
Do you think it's a fad though?
Again, my problem with it. Sorry, my problem with it is that it is limited in its capacity. It will never be able to tell. Let's say it goes on Google and searches up 1,000 articles, and 900 of them are actually misinformation or old information, and 100 of them are correct. It doesn't have the soul or expertise itself to define whether or not the 100 are actually correct or the 900 are correct.
Again, it comes down to your initial data. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have 1,000 articles, and within the articles, journals started having like some sort of extra piece on there where it's like you're associated. I mean, there is this, by the way, it's called the journal impact factor. So an impact factor of a journal, the higher it is, the more times other researchers have referenced that article. And typically a journal article will be referenced more, the more quality and like accurate it is, basically, right? So you could make a case where it's like, okay, I have a filter on this AI model where it's like, the longer away year-wise it is, the less of a accuracy I'm going to give it. And the more citations it has, the higher accuracy I'm going to give it. So you can kind of tune the models like that to try and, like, it's not impossible. Like, you can do, the thing is, right, like, remember, what we do, you're talking about expertise and like the soul of it. At the end of the day, when it comes to the research part, it is objective. Someone has a rubric and that researcher is following that rubric and deciding what's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put that rubric into the AI. You can do this. It's possible. It may take time, right? But yeah, like it's just I think a lot of people just have like, at the end of the day, sometimes we're uncomfortable with things and we can't even verbalize why we're uncomfortable. Something just feels weird. A lot of the time, it could be like that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, this job, like there's this AI is just doing this. Everything makes sense. It's faster. I don't need to do it anymore. Everything is fine with it. I can't even figure out what's wrong with it, but it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? And this is nothing new. My point is, this has happened time and time again in history, and it will continue to happen in the future. Holograms. Maybe like, you know what? Like instead of FaceTiming, there's gonna be like you hologrammed beside me, and some people are gonna be like, that just feels weird. You know, maybe there's nothing wrong with it.
I guess there's just being older, not being born into this type of stuff. I think it really impacts the way you think about it as well. Yeah, so we talked about a lot of crazy topics when it comes to AI. Again, I'm gonna reiterate the fact that at the end of the day, AI is what we make it to be, and I don't think people should be afraid of that. It's another tool. It's inevitable at this point. It becomes such a big topic, and everyone's implementing into their software and their companies that like you can either be afraid of it or you can use it to your advantage as well. And it is unfortunate that they're using it in a certain direction that people don't like it in, especially when it comes to art. But again, it could be a new age of art with this as well. If you use it as a tool, the same way people use cameras as tools or for movies. I'm sure the people who did drama back in the day, like on stage, were like pissed off about that.
But I mean, we still have Broadway shows.
Yeah, but we still have that, and I think that's the point I'm trying to get across. At the end of the day, art will always be there, and if you really have a true vision that you align with, that is.
So I have an interesting little segue, okay, that I want to talk about. Let's talk comedy for a second, okay? Can AI get you to laugh? Can it give you some, like, you know, like when you're on a, because now we have voice AI, like you can create someone saying it. So let's say you just don't laugh when you read stuff and you need to hear it. You need the the audible, like, you know, expression. But can it do that? Do you think it could make you a good enough joke where like you listen to it and you just burst out laughing? You're like, this is actually hilarious. Because humor is very interesting. It's actually one of the weirdest types of.
It's one of the things that humans actually have that a lot of other animals don't have.
Like the humor. The humor. And so, can AI do that?
I think eventually they will be able to.
You think you'll just start laughing?
And I'm sure it's gonna become like those like sci-fi movies of like falling in love with an AI and stuff like that. Like I'm sure it's gonna get.
No, like you think you could just go on and be like, oh, create like a skit, 100%. And then it's just like hilarious, like best thing you ever listened to.
Eventually, yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things you can't do. It's just too.
It will use other people as an example and inspiration. Again, it is what you make it to be.
No, but that's the thing about humor. It's just humor is one of those things, right? There's no rubric. I feel.
But I feel like if they have all your data and they know what makes you laugh, they'll just like just use that against you too, man.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that humor of all the things.
That's a great point. Like, will they be able to adopt humor?
I don't know. I mean, okay, maybe they can do everything in the future. We'll know in our lifetime, right? But there was a point that you mentioned, like a lot of people didn't grow up in this, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, think about for our parents, man. Like when they were growing up, like no internet, no like TVs were just hitting color, no cell phone. Like there's just so many things that rapidly happened.
I'm sure they feel really weird about that stuff too.
Is AI as much of a jump for us from just being on your desktop computer?
It's a really good example.
For them to, is it that big of a jump?
I think it is, yeah.
That level of uncomfortability? I can't tell. I'm not like, you know, like a boomer.
Like the impact?
Or like the feeling we have, is it the same or is it not as bad? Because we're like, we can kind of.
I think the smartphone is one of the craziest inventions because we still use it today and it's still being like upgraded.
I mean, I could say that about a fridge.
Sure, but like
no,
the amount of impact it has.
No, you know what? People take the fridge for.
Okay, would you ever be able to come up with smartphones back like 100 years ago?
No, you
didn't. The idea of a smartphone. You couldn't even comprehend the idea of a smartphone.
No,
but with smartphones, you were able to comprehend the idea of AI, like Tony Stark, Jarvis. Like, but 10 years ago, you're like, yo, that's never gonna happen.
But you could conceptualize it. I mean, this is one of those things where you would have to go, like, there are, like, I know a lot of people talk about it. You have to go on, like, basically, like, oh, what did people in the 1920s think that it's gonna look like 100 years ago and compare it? And 90% of the time, you see flying cars. And it's like, and today, if you ask someone, draw something in 2130, you see flying cars. Listen, like, flying cars don't make sense energy-wise.
Until we find a good energy source for that.
No, like it doesn't make sense.
Anti-gravity.
No, it's I'm not gonna get into anti-gravity and like how like, but what I'm saying is, that yeah, like you can conceptualize AI when you have smart, but like to your point, like, or your question, can you conceptualize a smartphone 100 years ago? Okay. What are all the things a smartphone can do?
Okay, you're gonna talk about like telepathy or something?
No, like you can call someone.
Call someone, see someone.
We already had radio waves. Radios existed.
Sure.
So being able to use a radio, like those guys in World War II or whatever, when they had the giant backpack with the radio, like.
Would you have been able to conceptualize the TV on your hand and be able to control the TV on?
Okay, so it's kind of like flip picture books. Yes.
Okay, you can't call you're creating like a scenario in which it would make sense for someone to conceptualize with these factors.
No, I'm just saying.
Would someone have been able to conceptualize it? I don't think.
Fine, you didn't have a screen. You didn't have the technology to display stuff, right? But like, someone did eventually conceptualize it. Okay, but then here's my question. If you're at a point in history where you cannot conceptualize it ever, what makes you conceptualize it at some point? Because by that argument, you would never conceptualize it.
No, because the technology that you have it there already.
What was the catalyst?
I think TVs.
What was the catalyst for TVs?
I don't know.
No,
TV
but
was
see,
a crazy invention too.
No, but then at some point you're gonna get to this weird point where you're like, that item could not have been conceptualized.
I think it's connected. They're all connected. Like you didn't need a TV until you started creating cameras, correct? You didn't need cameras until you needed a photo. I don't know. Or you didn't need that until you needed a drawing. You didn't need a drawing until you needed.
I think it worked backwards. My opinion from the science side, right? I think it was always backwards. Let me give you an example of what I mean. We always 1800s people are studying quantum mechanics. Like it's 1920s, like in Göttingen. It's like a huge, like they're doing all these things, but a lot of this stuff, like the research that they're looking at, wasn't that useful, right? A lot of the time,
creates on an object.
Like we couldn't like or like, you know, we're looking at like, let's say a lot of like different things about optics, right? The principles of light, how they work, how optics work, like learning these things, we learned all of that stuff first, right? Then some physicist, some engineer was like, okay, I can capture an image based on like these principles. Let me try it out. Does this actually work? Oh, I can get a picture out of it. And then someone's like, wait, but then if I have some information, can I display it in the other way if I have that information and show that light?
And then it goes on from there.
I think, and the engineers might appreciate this, it wasn't the TV, it wasn't the optics, it wasn't any of that. It was converting those analog systems into digital systems. That, I think, and it's kind of like a underground layer thing that we don't really talk about, but man, that is insane. Just being able to digitize stuff, right? It's like, that's
I agree with that. Yeah.
That in like the 90s, that's when I was like, I was like a toddler by like, you know, like by like by the time it was like 2000, right? Like, so but yeah, like it that was, I think, the catalyst. But like AI, all this stuff, smartphones, I think you learn some physics and you just try it out and you're like, okay, let's see what happens. AI, like, what was the reason of creating AI? How did it get here? Weren't we always on that track?
Yeah.
Automatic coffee machines, autopilot.
It just used the amount of data that we have now, the data online. It used all that information to just regurgitate the most accurate answer.
Exactly. And don't you think that's an obvious thing when you just have a bucket load of data?
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So I always think the harder thing is the data.
But yeah, I agree with you. Again, the data. But again, I don't think it's about how hard it is to do that idea, like AI. I think it's about how much of an impact it's made on society.
All of these things. When you're talking about information systems, you're talking about how data is moved around, people's personal data, everything is connected to you. Apparently your audio files, right? It becomes, it's like so intertwined in society that like all of these things are going to affect society in a massive way, right? Again, I'll leave it on this. My concern is less on the job market and the shift of careers and what people decide to do with it, how it's used in engineering versus all this stuff, is actually children and kids and how it affects. The thing is, like, how does it affect our psychology?
How does it affect our learning?
How does it affect our learning? These are the things that are troublesome, right? Are we going to get to a point where people don't know how to, like, I don't know, like, read anymore, right?
There are people like that.
Right? How many people, like, actually read text? I mean, to be fair, we still do because we have Reddit and all this stuff. There is a lot of, like, reading comprehension that we still have.
But then you can argue, I don't want to get into semantics, but then you argue that it makes it more accessible. The information is more accessible because it's like, oh, can you explain this in a different manner? Like, to explain this as a 5-year-old, this information as a 5-year-old.
No, and I completely agree that information is more accessible and the misinformation is more accessible. You get both at the same time.
Yep.
Before, no one, like, it would be really hard just to learn how.
If they fix that, I think that it will be unsolvable.
It's very hard to do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying ifs again.
And it's like you said, this one point of a lot of the time you need to pump out some propaganda. You're literally using the system for, like, this, you know what I mean? Like, you're using the system with some sort of misinformation. So then it's kind of like, it's to the discretion of the
user.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think you gotta stay safe out there. You gotta stay educated. You gotta kind of, like, the world nowadays forces you to stay on top of everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You know what I mean? You cannot be 100%. Like, passive. Imagine you go to, like, the Bahamas 6 months, like, no internet, and you just say, what do you think? Like, you don't even listen to the news. What do you think's gonna happen when you come back after 6 months? You won't even
6 months. I think if you go for a year, if you were gone for 2 years, right, like 2 years ago, and you came back now, you'd be screwed. AI.
No, two years ago, 2023, right? Yeah. You would know about AI. No, 4.0, 3.0 was out. 3.0 was out.
Okay, but let's say 3 years ago then.
Okay, you really gonna make it
like, God.
Fine.
3 years not a long time.
2.5, okay, fine, whatever. I won't. Fine. OpenAI. Was Musk still in OpenAI in 2022?
I don't know. But I'm just saying again, you need to be on top of these things, and if you're not, you're getting left behind. I know it's harder for some people to kind of grasp this topic.
I think it's not hard for everyone my age and younger.
Yeah, but older people definitely it's kind of a lot difficult.
Boomers, man, how are they keeping? Actually, how are boomers keeping up with this stuff?
They're not, but they're in positions that don't require these sort of things, anyways.
Why?
I don't know, man. They're tenured in like one of those industries that they.
Oh, where they're just like they come into work with their little
sit there, don't do shit, go home.
Man, like
chat it up.
But yeah, no, you know what? I think that was fun.
That was good. That was fun. Honestly, again, guys, just try to stay on top of it. Nothing to be afraid of. There are a lot of, concerning things about it that we need to stay on top of as well. But you're not gonna find those regulations for another 10 years, as you saw with social media. So try your best, stay on top of it, have fun with it.
And yeah, again, really appreciate, like this is like a journey we've started together. Let's see where it goes.
We appreciate all the comments and stuff. I love reading the comments. They make me laugh sometimes. They make me think sometimes. They admit my wrongs as well. I approve all comments on my TikTok, regardless of if they're going against.
I agree too. It's always great. Also, people going back and forth, like love it. Thanks again.
So yeah, we'll see you again. That was the end of episode 2.
End of episode 2.
AI, algorithms, all that stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys episode 3, hopefully 1 month from now. All right. Peace, guys. Peace.